Hello, unforgettable vocalist O'Neill Gerald Donald here on the Reclaim Your Voice podcast. And we are here for episode 3 of our wonderful podcast and the second part of our series talking about why or your voice not belonging to you. It's been a really good conversation. It's something that I've enjoyed, and it's not something I've just enjoyed because I am just making people feel uncomfortable. But simply because we're kicking the sacred cows of singing and of professional singing and of personal singing, all everything under the sun. What we're doing is we're empowering you to be able to reclaim your voice. And you can't really reclaim your voice if you don't know that there's something to be reclaimed. So today is the second part of our series where we're talking about your voice not belonging to you, or the fact that your voice doesn't belong to you. Last week, we talked about the signs that your voice doesn't belong to you. And today, we're going to be getting into the strain of when your voice doesn't belong to you. So, for those of you that are just tuning in, Reclaim Your Voice is a podcast for singers that want to become unforgettable vocalists. We're taking your singing from being unsure to unforgettable, and we are here to give you the tools that you need to stop losing your voice, break your bad singing habits, and find your unique sound. This is something that I love to do as a vocal coach, as a choral conductor, and as a singer, songwriter, producer, multi-hyphenate guy. But really, as a coach, I have now made it my mission to help singers that have been stuck in their own mire, so to speak, their own clay or quicksand for non-Bible speak. But anyway, who have been stuck in the quicksand that is their own singing mentality, their own singing philosophy, and allow them to sing with freedom. And that looks like physical freedom, of course, technique, but it also looks like mental freedom. And I think a lot of people can ignore the mental piece. And so this podcast is about joining the two. But without further ado, why don't we get into the strain of when your voice doesn't belong to you? So I have three strains of your voice not belonging to you. And really, this is just us seeing what it looks like when a singer sings and their voice doesn't belong to them. And this is not going to be stuff that you're just going to know, that people are going to notice for you. This is going to have to be a very introspective journey that you're going to have to see for yourself. And that's part of what I love about this podcast. This is allowing us to shut off the outside noise, to shut off the outside praise, and allow you to think about your voice personally, and not just in a way where you're just scrutinizing yourself on what you can and cannot do technically, but we're taking the conversation deeper so that you can actually really consider what it means to share your message with the world and allow people to be impacted deeply by the sound that you bring. And we talked a little bit about that definition of singing in our first episode. You can go and listen to it if you haven't heard it already. But yes, the strain of when your voice doesn't belong to you. The first sign of strain, or the first strain, we're just going to call them strains. The first strain of when your voice doesn't belong to you, what it looks like, at least from a singer's perspective, is what do we say? The first way it looks when your voice doesn't belong to you, not the signs of it, but this is what it looks like, this is what it feels like, is that you jump at the first opportunity to use your voice. Now, I think we tend to think that something like this is good. We're, especially as we're learning to use our voices, we're really encouraged to sing as much as possible, to practice, to get out there and use our voices. And especially for artists that want to become world renowned and want to be known, they will jump at every opportunity to use their voice. So if someone's asking them to sing, they're going to be like, yeah, absolutely, I'm going to do that. Or not even just that, but even right now within the social media age, there are going to be people that want to just put themselves out there, just sing and sing and sing and sing and sing. And in putting themselves out there, and putting in singers putting themselves out there, what will happen is, you'll get a lot of people, or not necessarily a lot of people, but a few people here and there that will ask you to sing for them, and not even just sing for them, to perform for them, so they can open up more opportunities for you. In fact, that's how a lot of this is really pitched. But it's about you singing for their event, you singing for their song. So like if you're in the R&B hip hop world, it might be that there is a particular rapper or producer that's looking for a singer to be on their hook, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a paid gig, this is absolutely what I want to do. Now, it seems like there's no problem like that. It seems like there's no problem with that, because that's how our world has worked, and this is how the music industry has worked. Singers tend to be on the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to not just people getting paid, but just even in terms of power. The people that actually have the power, especially in the record industry, the music industry, are the people that control the singers, the people that write the contracts, the people that really get paid the most, right? And you find that singers at the bottom of the totem pole, and in this quest for power, people will look for slaves, so to speak. These people have what's the word? These people have their own agendas and their own events, things that they want people to use their voices for, and they go and they grab singers. So like I was saying, going back to the R&B hip hop world, you might have a rapper or somebody, or a producer, somebody that wants to get a singer that sings on the hook. The singer says, oh my gosh, this is a paid opportunity, and they freak out. But what they don't realize is that they're actually operating out of a need for affirmation, out of a need to be affirmed in the fact that they can sing. They want to hear somebody say, you got a great voice, and you can do this, and you can do that. And it's funny that I've seen a lot of people settle for even having less money in their singing careers because they're getting the right amount of affirmation. They will stay at home and, record videos and post them on YouTube. Not saying that that's a bad thing, but they will stay recording covers and putting covers on YouTube, and never create something original, simply because they're looking for people to give them a like. They're looking for people to give them affirmation that will help them to build their own self-image. And the problem with that is that it doesn't teach a singer how to actually have their own sense of self-image, or have their own healthy self-image, or it doesn't teach them how to build their own self-image and their own self-esteem. What they do is they simply remedy that, or medicate that problem, by going out and getting opportunities that will affirm them from within. In the church world, it looks like, singing as a part of somebody's group, or as a part of somebody's choir, and you feel like you belong. You feel like you are validated. But what you're not really seeing is, you're not seeing yourself actually become more, become more satisfied with your own voice. And often in a lot of these cases, you're actually not even seeing real improvement. What you're doing is you're just getting affirmation that is covering up the root problem, where you're not enjoying your own voice, and you're also not having the results that you want to have. Technically, you're still losing your voice, like we talked about last week, in the signs of when your voice doesn't belong to you. And so you continue to sing for all of these different opportunities while still suffering on the inside. And the goal of us reclaiming your voice is so that you can actually see yourself not at the bottom of the priority list, not as the person who has the least amount of power, but the person who has the most amount of power, because you're the singer, you're the one that has the voice, right? And it's not about getting a lot of other people to confirm and affirm you from within, but it's about you having your own sense of self-image that isn't determined by whether or not somebody wants you. Wow. Okay. All right. So that's the first strain of when your voice doesn't belong to you. And like I could even go off on that. Just like there's a what people don't really talk about is that in this dog eat dog world, when it comes to the music industry, singers are fighting to be understood. Singers are fighting to be affirmed, and it's really hard when you're in a world when you're in an industry that is built on the acclaim and the praise of others. And so because we see other singers that will I don't know if I mentioned this before. I feel like I did, but I don't think I did. We'll see other singers that will get up on stage and be like, oh my gosh, I thank my fans, you guys are amazing, you guys are the reason why I do it. I'm like, really? Other people are the reason why you do this. This is and people will cheer because especially fans, they're just like, yeah, keep going for us, keep doing what you want, what we want you to do, right? That it seems noble, and it seems like they're doing something good for other people, but what they don't realize is they're actually living and doing what they're called to do for other people, right? And so they'll jump at the first opportunity to use their voice. I feel like there was a few other things that were in that point, but that's the first sign of strain. That's the first strain of when your voice doesn't belong to you. You jump at the first opportunity to use your voice. The second strain of when your voice doesn't belong to you is that you pretend to like singing. Now, this one seems weird as well because, you're a singer. Wouldn't you like singing? But when we talked last week about some of the signs that your voice doesn't belong to you, or rather, when your voice doesn't belong to you, you tend to create fallacies in your mind that will make you enjoy your situation when the reality is that you actually don't enjoy your situation vocally. For example, if you are losing your voice every week, there is a sense of frustration, there is a sense of angst, there is a sense of anger that you don't even get to truly express because you are busy continuing to show up for singing. And I've seen this a lot in the church world. I've seen it in my own life where you have to be the encourager, you're the worship leader, so you have to you have to get the people riled up, but you don't have a voice to do it, right? And what we're made to believe is that we just have to power through it. We watch all of the the greats that that power through when their bodies are not at optimal at an optimal state. Oh yeah, they broke their leg, but they just continue going. Oh yeah, they have nodules, but they're continuing to do it. And singing does not have to be hard work all the time. I feel like, and not even just that, but we're made to believe that the hard work of singing, the push, the grind of singing is where we get our enjoyment. When in reality, we're actually robbed of true enjoyment because we're using our voice to please other people. We're using our voice to gain for ourselves a sense of praise. And so what we do is we create this little fantasy world where we actually enjoy losing our voice every week, where we actually enjoy singing at the same place every single week, and we're not getting better. And so what we do, and I've talked to people like this that are just like, if I were to get to 60 or 70 and I were to continue to actually not be able to use my voice in an optimal way, oh yeah, I would just find a way to keep on doing it. I would just find a way to just continue to power through because I know how to do that. And I look at them and they don't even realize what they're saying is so toxic because when you're going 30, 40 years with the same level of strain, you can't think that that strain won't compound on itself, and you won't be found in a place where you actually won't even want to sing anymore because the strain is compounded on itself, right? When you are in strain, whether it's physical in terms of you're not using your voice properly, or whether it's mental where you don't have a strong self-image or you don't have a strong self-esteem, that strain has a way of compounding on itself. And what it does is it becomes this pressure that weighs down on you and keeps you, and eventually, if and even if you're a really strong person, so to speak, that pressure has a way of compounding on you in a way where your body, like, first of all, if you're physical, your body will give way, or whether it's mental, your singing morale will give way, and you won't want to sing anymore because the strain always finds itself present whenever you open your mouth to do what you're called to do. I don't like that. I'm sure you don't either. And so you don't have to continue to pretend like singing is something enjoyable when it actually is not. When you're seeing the signs that that you're going here, there, and everywhere in order to use your voice so that you can feel like you're actually doing something in the world, when actually you know that you're not, and you're not getting any further, right? So what we're here to do in reclaiming your voice is break that fallacy and break that fantasy world so that you can actually wake up and see that your message is not being shared with the world the way that you know it should. And a lot of you're songwriters, or you have dreams of even just taking songs and breathing life to them in a way that actually gives life to somebody else. And because we're stuck in the fallacy world, we actually keep ourselves from actually making true impact that is authentic, right? Because we're stuck pretending, right? It's time to stop pretending. Your voice actually doesn't belong to you, and you actually need to actually get the help from an expert to actually see this thing genuinely changed and not just pretend like it's changed, right? And so that's the second piece of or the second piece of strain when your voice doesn't belong to you, is that you pretend that you like singing even though the strain is compounding on you. And the last strain of when your voice doesn't belong to you, and this is a little bit of what we get to when the strain compounds on itself, is that you question whether or not you're ever meant to be a singer. Here's the thing. When you live for the praise and the acclaim of other people, what it acts like is a fuel. Like, you drive, like most of us drive, and or we've seen people drive, a car works on fuel. And if the fuel runs out, then the car stops. You might have the ability to move the car a little bit, but you're going to have to push in order to move that thing, right? When we live for the acclaim and the praise of other people, what happens is we actually create a fuel for ourselves that's not renewable. Rather, it's something that we have to go out, grab, and then bring to our own souls and our own hearts to keep us going, right? But when that fuel runs out, right, the true self-image, the true low self-esteem, the like, even in one of my songs, Counterfeits and Magic, I talk about this, about when the lights go out and you're in the dark, the counterfeits and the magic, the fallacies and the pretending actually won't give you the fuel that you need, because you conditioned yourself to live off of the praise of other people. And so the strain, and even when it comes physically and mentally, like I was saying, it comes to bite at you when the comments are low, when the likes are low, and you're not getting the praise and the acclaim. And people wonder why they struggle with depression. Now, I am not a counselor, I am not a therapist, but I know enough about singing to know that when somebody's called to it and they're not doing it, their life is miserable. And when someone is doing it and they're seeing strain, and when they're seeing things that are keeping them from being able to get to the fullness of what they're called to, that itself can be a weight that brings depression, When you're working at something so much and you're beating against the wall and you're trying to get impact, but you're not actually getting it. And it's draining you and it's sapping you of your strength, right? So much that you start to question whether or not you're ever meant to be a singer. And you've talked to these people. You've talked to them, they're out there, working whatever capacity they want. And you know what? Let's not even say that they're working 9 to 5. They could be an entrepreneur that is absolutely doing the most and even successful in another sphere, but they never would have known what it would have been like had they actually stuck with what they were called to, and not just stuck with what they called to and kicked against the or went against the grain, but actually got the help to actually graduate and jump over the fence of their struggles and of their hurts, hangups, and habits vocally, right? They'll never know that. What like and the thing is, when money is in the picture, it clouds everything, and it makes it's just like sex in a relationship. What sex can do is it can kind of cloud things and make people think that they're in love with each other, and they're actually not in love with each other. What money can do is it can come and make you feel like, oh yeah, like, oh yeah, I'm actually succeeding in life, whether you can be in a different sphere and you're getting paid very well, right? But that sphere isn't feeding you, because at the bottom of your heart that you're called to something else, right? And because of that initial strain, singing isn't working for me. I have some talent, but my voice gives out, or I have some talent, but every single time I get on the stage, I question myself. I have if things feel cloudy. All of that questioning, it almost acts as if as like this bully that just pushed you out of your sphere of influence in the place that you're called. And that's why I'm here. Right? I don't think that this is the conversation that a lot of people like to have. In fact, I feel like this is the conversation that a lot of even vocal coaches don't like to have, because a lot of vocal coaches are in the same place. Like, there's a little bit of a saying that I had to personally kick out of my life, where it said, like the saying goes, "Those who can't do, teach." And so a lot of people that actually were supposed to be singers and knew that they were called to it, but they felt the strain of it and life happened to them, they just went and became a teacher, and they went and became a vocal coach or whatever, not realizing that there's actually a call and a specific gifting for you to actually teach and for you to be a vocal coach. Now, for me, I know I'm called to vocal coach, right? I have no problem with that. Like, I sing, and I know I sing well, but I know that I'm also called to teach, and I'm also called to be a vocal coach. But there's a lot of people that actually jump out of their sphere of influence in the place where they're called, simply because it was too hard, or simply because they kept knocking against the wall and not seeing the results that they want to. And again, that's why I'm here. I don't want you to continue to bash your head against the wall because you're not seeing the results that you want to. And I don't want you to continue to, kick against the pricks because you're just because your self-esteem is low and you're trying to actually grind it out. Our society's has taught us, just continue to grind, just continue to work harder. There's a point where you actually need to change what you're doing. There's a lot of people that talk about the definition of insanity. Now, I don't think this is actually the actual definition of insanity, but it has a point to it. Some people say that insanity is doing the same thing but expecting a different result. That's insanity, right? And honestly, I refuse to let you, as a singer that wants to go from being unsure to being an unforgettable vocalist that people will remember, I refuse to let you just be in the fallacy. I refuse to let you just, just go far away from the dream that that you're called to engage, right? So if you find that you are experiencing one of these 3 levels of strain, jumping at the first opportunity to use your voice, pretending that you like singing, questioning whether you're ever meant to be a singer, even when you're great at it. We didn't even get to that. There's a lot of people that are great that still question this, right? If you're feeling that strain, what I want you to do is actually get on a call with me. I want you to go to reclaimyourvoice.ca/call, and I want you to book a call with me, a voice breakthrough call, and we'll be able to actually get to the bottom of why you're actually suffering as a singer, right? it makes no sense to continue to live your singing life with a level of with a level of strain that's keeping you from actually enjoying what you're called to do. Like you're there's a scripture in the Bible that talks about God giving joy to the people that are in his house of prayer. What that means is basically the people that are doing what they're called to do in serving God, they actually are supposed to be given joy. When you're doing what you're called to do, when you're doing your God-given assignment in the world, there is a joy that is supposed to be there, right? And there's so much tension that can come when you're doing something that you're called to do, and there is a level of strain that comes with it and struggle, right? And if you don't act on that right now, what that thing can do is actually just kick you out of where you're actually supposed to be and where you're actually called, right? So I want you to book a call with me at reclaimyourvoice.ca/call. Let's do a voice breakthrough call and let's reclaim your voice, right? So that brings us to the end of episode 3, talking about the strain of when your voice doesn't belong to you. We'll probably finish off the series next week. But what I want you to do, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, I would love for you to follow and subscribe to this podcast if you're on YouTube and wherever you're listening to this. I really want you to follow this podcast and give this a review. Tell me what you thought. Tell me if this is something that is really striking your heart and is actually showing you more of what's actually going on with your voice. Just leave a comment, leave a review, and a 5-star review, and help us to continue to bring this message out to the world, because we're here to reclaim your voice, reclaiming my voice. Anyway, I'll see you guys. Well, I make this mistake every week. We gotta stop this. I can't see you right now, but you will hear me next week, Thursday. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Okay, keep reclaiming your voice. Bye, everyone.